This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohen, and welcome to a special edition of ABC7 at 7. The holidays are here, time to spend time with your family. But we live in interesting times, maybe pivotal times for our community and our country. And we begin tonight with the reckoning, rocking Hollywood journalism and politics, sexual harassment. It hasn't gone unnoticed from Harvey Weinstein, Kevin Spacey, Matt Lauer, Charlie Rose. Their careers now over and done, snuffed out almost immediately and deservedly after allegations of sexual harassment and in some cases assault. On the other hand, we just witnessed a Senate election in Alabama where some Roy Moore supporters, and Roy Moore was nearly elected despite being accused by a number of women of harassing and groping them as teenagers. He still had the support of President Trump, who has been accused of sexually harassing more than a dozen women. On Capitol Hill, yes, a number of Republicans and Democrats have now resigned, but their demise certainly wasn't immediate. In fact, there is still debate whether Senator Al Franken should have hung on and fought the pressure to quit. And joining us for more is State Representative Joe Gruters, former state senator and current county commissioner Nancy Dietert, former state representative and current school board member Shirley Brown, and Zach Anderson, political editor for the Herald Tribune. Welcome to all of you, and happy holidays to all of you. Nancy, let me start with you, because you were saying before we started here that you think it's important to talk about the problem of sexual harassment without talking about situations like Roy Moore. Why?
Well, because then it's just about politics again, and you can say, oh, that was your guy, he's terrible, we're going to win elections because your guy was terrible. Then it's a political discussion, and you're getting away from the real problem, which is sexual harassment, and it's been going on for more decades than we care to count. And to me, the real story is, and it was the real story for Time magazine, the real story is the Me Too movement, because tons of men were shocked at the depth of this. There is no woman in America or any other country that was shocked by the depth of this. The fact is that in the old days you couldn't complain. Are you going to be the first one to step up and say, Bill Cosby sexually harassed me, and everybody in America is going to agree with you? They're going to say, not Bill Cosby, he's everybody's dad.
Right.
Not Matt Lauer, we like him on the Today Show.
But they did get started in terms of the Me Too movement.
Bill Cosby,
that is true, but it got kicked into warp speed with Harvey Weinstein. And then you see people from media, whether it's Matt Lauer, Charlie Rose, they are gone before the next sunrise. On the other hand, you do have, whether it's members of Congress or people in government, hang in there, it seems, for longer. And some people saying, well, you know what, the real arbiters there are the voters, and they will, they will suffer the fate of the voters.
If I can take a few minutes on that topic, because it has to be dealt with that in politics, the minute you're accused, your career is over. And we have no process to decide. President. Well, there you go, being political again. You're supposed to be on my team, Shirley.
All right, all right.
So you get away from the sexual harassment. The beauty to me of the Me Too movement, and what made me put Me Too on my Facebook page, was Harvey Weinstein. The fact that it's a power thing. So yes, that's where politics comes in. Power has a lot to do with politics.
But Joe, Shirley raised the issue of President Trump, and that he was accused by over a dozen women. Obviously you could say, and I assume you do, that the voters made their decision knowing what the allegations were.
Well, listen, sexual harassment's a serious issue. I think that I'm personally for justice for the accused, justice for the victim. At the end of the day, we need to have some process that's in politics to where maybe you don't take these allegations directly to the press. Maybe you go through some new system, and I know the State House and State Senate, I think they're going to come up with a new policy that tries to address this. But at the end of the day, it is a career killer for most elected officials. You may be able to hold on to your seat if Al Franken decides to stay. Other people have been accused and stayed, but it is a serious issue. My guess is if you're accused of anything, it's going to be very difficult for you to ever move up in the system now. And it is up to the voters on whether or not they believe whatever side you're on. And certainly I think that all these allegations should be taken seriously, but they should be vetted and they should go through the process, because at the end of the day, we want justice for everybody.
Sure.
Well, and I agree with Nancy. It isn't the political side of it. I mean, and it's not only women that have been harassed through this. I think what we're standing up now, there was always jokes about the casting couch. I mean, I think that was even talked about in movies. And I think that's the issue with Al Franken, too. The things that Al Franken did are still skits on SNL. I mean, we have got to have a change in our whole way of living so that we understand that that's offensive. It takes time. And I think it started bubbling up with the Bill Cosby and some of these others, but I think it's coming to a head now, and we need to have a real shift in the way we look at this.
Zach, I'm interested in your thoughts here, because we've had some people who are the most prestigious people in the journalism world who are gone today because of these allegations, but we also, both of us, cover politics, and we know that it is not such a simple answer when it's an elected official who is being accused.
Yeah, and you're starting to see the political process move a little bit faster with elected officials. There was just another congressman, a Democrat from Nevada, who said he's not going to run for re-election this week. He had been accused of sexual harassment. I think it's up to 5 members of Congress now, just in the last 2 weeks, who have either said they're not running for re-election or they're, or actually are stepping down. So it is starting to move a little bit faster in the political world as it had in the media world and in entertainment. And I think that both sides are worried that this is going to become an election issue in 2018, and if they don't take action. But on the other side, there are people who are very concerned about whether folks are getting due process and getting afforded the opportunity to defend themselves.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll have more on sexual harassment after a quick break, so stay with us.
Everybody can make something, because I think everyone has a spark of creativity, and the reason that I have to keep making is because I don't think my life would be as fulfilling without it. If you make things yourself, that means you're not cowering in fear. You're out there taking chances. That, I think, is my way of saying I love you to the world. All right, now I want to hear why you make.
Share your own Why I Make story today. Visit whyimake.org.
Christmas Traditions by Lux Art Silks, where more is merrier. Make your holidays sparkle with style. Browse our amazing showroom, cute collectible cottages, and beautiful Christmas displays. Find the inspiration, selection, and quality you need to deck the halls merry and bright. Christmas Traditions also features the area's largest selection of quality pre-lit Christmas trees, every size, shape, and color, and plenty of decorations to make your home shine for the holidays. Christmas Traditions by Lux Art Silks, where more is merrier. Visit us on New 301, just a quarter-mile north of University Parkway.
Attention, Americans eligible for Medicare. Are you getting all the benefits you're entitled to? Did you know there may be money available to lower your medical prescription costs? Call Health Markets and we'll tell you if you qualify.
Hi, I'm Dr. Martin Jeetsi. It's a new Medicare year. That means more changes and more confusion. The key question is, what can you do now to ensure you get the care you need in the coming year?
Call Health Markets today. You may qualify to save money on prescriptions. We'll help you find plans that may cost less, cover more, and could even lower your prescription costs to increase your savings. We help you find all the benefits you're entitled to, and we do it at no cost.
Make sure you have what you need to get the care that's right for you.
Find out if you qualify to receive extra help with your prescriptions. Call the number on the screen now. Representatives are standing by.
There's nothing like this trail in Alabama. It just goes from the northern part of the state to the southern part of the state. We see all kind of different terrains, great value, great fun. We've been coming for 18 years. We started off with a group of 8, grew to 12, and grew to 16. And we love it because where else can you get world-class golf courses with world-class accommodations? To be able to play these type of courses in this environment, and the difficulty keeps us coming back over and over and over again.
ABC7 News at 7, weeknights.
Welcome back. We're talking about sexual harassment in politics, and joining us for more is State Representative Joe Gruters, former state senator and current county commissioner Nancy Dietert, former state representative and current school board member Shirley Brown, and Zach Anderson, political editor the Herald Tribune. My colleague Adam Cellini had the fortune of talking to former Congressman Dan Miller recently, who said even when he went into office, he was 50 years old, so the kids were out of the house. He was able to go up to Washington with his wife, but he does say in the halls of Congress, and we should remind people that a lot of members of Congress sleep in their offices, it was a pretty incredible scene. And so this has been going on for years, not only in Washington, but also in Tallahassee, where 3 of you have served. Are these, are we now at a point where what you saw and witnessed when you were in office is no longer the case?
I think it's probably always been so, and frankly, now that I think about it, what's making things a little better, very small increments, we're taking baby steps, frankly, is getting more women elected. When it was all men, you should have heard what they did in those days. We've all heard the old stories. You can't do that anymore. There's always going to be a few, and it really has to do a lot to do with arrogance. Sometimes when you get a title, you think there's a little crown on your head, and you think all the women you see come with the job, and they don't. I don't really know that all the men are like that. I think it's probably a very small percentage. They're going to be headline grabbers, but since there's confusion currently going on, I think we need a definition of sexual harassment. What constitutes sexual harassment? The other problem with Tallahassee is the aides, who are 90% women, can be fired for any reason, and that's always been the rule. That way, no matter who you fire, they can't come back and accuse you of anything, because you had the right to fire them for any reason.
Joe, as this has all been playing out, and there have been a number of allegations against current and now former members of the state legislature, you've been up there all this time in terms of committee weeks. What kind of tell me what has been going on. What have you all been saying to each other in terms of cleaning up the act of the legislature when it comes to this behavior?
Well, certainly it's an honor to represent your community up in Tallahassee, and so I think everybody takes that responsibility very seriously, and they don't want that reputation to be tarnish them in any way. And I would say I've only been up there for a year, but I will tell you that 98% of the people that I run into are good people. They don't do anything that's even remotely close to being unethical, I would say. And but what happens is, because we are in politics, you take 1 or 2 or 3 of these bad people, and these stories gets blown up in every newspaper. It gets sensationalized or used as political weapons. By the end of the day, I would say most people up there, listen, they want a clean system. But I will tell you, it definitely has already had an impact. You know, where I was the longtime chairman of the party. I give a lot of hugs. And I tell people, I'm only shaking hands now, right? And I see other people, they will not, I saw it happen a couple of times where you saw 2 close people. They're just saying, back, I'll shake your hand, no close touch. I've had conversations with some members who say they may put a sign outside their office that says, everything in this office is being recorded, just for their own protection, and to make sure that either it's going to go on 24/7, like some type of cam that will always be live, or just for their own sake in case they ever get accused of anything later on. That will have a ripple effect of Tallahassee in the long term, but at the end of the day, most people up there are good people. They want to do the right thing on both parties, and hopefully this allows us to continue to clean up whatever mess is left.
But up until now, Shirley, we've heard stories about there are bars that where all the action is, and that some legislators who don't want to have any part, they just go home at night. But there is a whole social scene at certain places in downtown Tallahassee where the action is.
I know when I was there, sometimes we'd go to a place called Roosters Dancing. I was never sexually harassed. I mean, I don't know if that has something to say about me. Maybe they didn't want to, or maybe I put out some airs that I wasn't there.
You're also a member of the legislature.
It doesn't stop them.
Okay.
Stop them. I was never treated with anything but respect. But I do know that there were people, I mean, even when I was there, anybody that came up, but there are people that will come, females that will come and want to be with the power, that will actually seek them out. You know, and is that harassment? You know, because I know that some women want that too, to say that they've been with so and so.
You know, Zach, we work in the competitive field. Why has this taken so long to come out?
Well, you know, a lot of this is rumors. A lot of this is, you know, kind of things that are whispered behind the scenes, and it's hard to verify. These are incidents that often happen without any witnesses, with maybe just 2 people in the room. So you hear rumors, but, you know, because of this Me Too movement, a lot of people have felt more empowered to come out and talk more about it. So you're getting more sources, and journalists feel more comfortable writing some of these stories because they're getting, you know, multiple people making accusations instead of just hearing somebody whisper one of these rumors.
I have to take another quick break. Stay with us.
If you're over the age of 50 and considering buying an annuity in the next 60 days, I have some important news for you. Don't buy an annuity until you understand the pros and cons of annuities. A free book to help you maximize your retirement income from television host and 3-time author Josh Melberg has been released. This book reveals little-known truths about annuity strategies in simple-to-understand terms. Grab a pen right now, because we are about to offer you this free book that unlocks the 5 little-known secrets we believe baby boomers and seniors should know before buying an annuity. Call 800-307-2040 now, and you'll receive a free copy of Josh Melberg's book, Next Gen Annuity Strategies Revealed. As a bonus, we'll also send you the #1 mistakes retirees are making with their investments today, and a free DVD on how you can get up to 33% more income in retirement. Call 800-307-2040 to have your free information kit rushed to your door. Again, that's 800-307-2040.
Here we go. We're going to go out there in the rain. You're going to get wet. All right, here we go. Oh, no. Okay, quick. Oh, yeah. Yes. So much fun. Mwah. So wet.
Thanks to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, what was once impossible is happening today for thousands of patients with blood cancer.
I live.
I live. I live. I live.
I live.
She lives.
Because of the research done by the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society in the battle against blood cancer.
If you had a chance to support the research that is saving lives, what would you do?
Everyone's buzzing about Suncoast View.
I like watching the Suncoast View.
I like the Suncoast View.
The cooking segments, I love the recipes. The theater segments are terrific.
Join Stephanie Roberts, Linda Carson, and Bo Beth Yates for hot topics, everyday issues, celebrities, food, fashion, fitness, and everything in between. Nothing is off limits.
They're just fun.
For smart, fun talk in the afternoon, watch Suncoast View, weekdays at 4 on ABC7.
Welcome back. President Trump said this week he is not planning to fire special counsel Robert Mueller, but there seems to be a growing drumbeat to, at least if you watch Fox News, there are legitimate questions about text messages between an FBI agent assigned to the case and his girlfriend showing antipathy for the president. The agent has been removed, but some Republicans, like Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, are charging that the Mueller investigation is hopelessly compromised. And joining us for more is State Representative Joe Gruters, former state senator and current county commissioner Nancy Dietert, former state representative and current school board member Shirley Brown, and Zach Anderson, political editor for the Herald Tribune. So, Joe, we're going to do this in 2 separate ways. Number one is where we are in terms of the Russia investigation. The president, as we just said, saying that he has no intention of firing the special counsel. Would you?
No, I agree with the president. I think that as this process continues to move forward, he's going to be exonerated, and we'll be able to move forward. The problem is, this is I believe, from the beginning that this has been an attempt to undermine his credibility and his administration. He knows there's nothing to it. It's going to let the process play out. But hopefully this doesn't drag on for another 6 months, 12 months. They need to wrap this up and get it over with. And if they have any findings, let's get it out there.
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, we do want justice. And Donald Trump is doing an amazing job as president. Certainly there's a lot of people that want to undermine him.
Are you literally biting your lip there, Shirley?
No, I was just like we had those Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton investigators, just did them, put them to the side, and let's move on. No, we'll let the process play out.
Right. Zach, you know, I said at the outset, you almost see the drumbeat building if you turn on for Fox News for any amount of time, and you had Matt Gaetz, the congressman from the Florida Panhandle, who was on CNN the other day, basically absolutely calling for Mueller to be resigned. Does this, or fired, does this seem to you that to be a coordinated effort to try to pressure, you know, Mueller and his investigation?
Well, it is clear, first of all, that there are some issues here with, you know, you don't, in an investigation that is this sensitive and this, you know, loaded with political intrigue, you have to be very careful not to have partisan or any appearance of partisanship. So it was appropriate for Mueller to remove the people who were texting about, you know, the Trump's election and anti-Trump text messages. You know, is that enough to disband the Mueller investigation? I guess that's what kind of some of the trial balloons are going up here regarding that. And there does seem to be a sense of maybe probing this a little bit to see if they can soften or, you know, kind of maybe lay some groundwork politically going forward if more accusations come out. So I think that there definitely, you know, could be, you know, that could come up in the future.
Commissioner, is this all about the process for you?
Well, I'm glad that they didn't fire Mueller. I think it would have made Donald Trump look bad, and I think he's better off letting the process take place. And I'm glad Mueller cleaned house on people that are not equipped to be fair. But you always have to be careful when you hire a special prosecutor, because they always venture into more areas. It always is a wider base than what was their original mission. We saw that with the Nixon one, and we saw that with Bill Clinton.
That's true, you know, but Joe, you know, you see this all the time. People saying that year later, we see no signs of the collusion, which may be arguable because you know, those meetings with Don Jr. and the offer in terms of information on Hillary and him saying that he loves it. But you know, in terms of criminal investigations, that prosecutors don't tell the public what they have while they're in the middle of investigating something.
That's right. The president, I don't think, is as concerned as everybody thinks about it. That's why he said he's not going to fire him. He wants this to play out. He wants this to be over. So far, after a year, what have they come up with? They've got Jeff Sessions for lying. Well, Donald Trump fired him for lying a long time ago. They got Don Jr. CNN has already been attacked for running a fake story on the fact that the dates of when that WikiLeaks communication was released, you know, and then you have Paul Manafort, who was busted for something 10 years prior to even joining Donald Trump's campaign. So I don't care what they do, but they should move in an efficient way so that the citizens out there aren't being held up, and that we could move on with our agenda. Listen, people are happy. Our stock market's at an all-time high. This tax package is about to be signed into law, which will everybody who has a job should be having extra drinks this holiday season, this Christmas, because you are going to get a tax cut and you're going to have more money in your pocket. There's a lot to be thankful for this season, and it's because of President Trump and his agenda of trying to make sure that the economy and the American worker is number one.
All right, we have to take a quick break. We'll have much more on the Russian investigation after this break, so stay with us.
Hi, I'm Joan London with A Place for Mom. Over the years, we've helped thousands of families find senior care, and today's senior living communities have never been better, with amazing amenities like movie theaters, exercise rooms and swimming pools, public cafes, bars and bistros, even pet care services. And nobody understands your options like the advisors at A Place for Mom. These are local expert advisors that will partner with you to find the perfect place and determine the right level of care, whether that's just a helping hand or full-time memory care. Best of all, it's a free service. Call today, A Place for Mom, You know your family, we know senior living. Together, we'll make the right choice.
Call A Place for Mom right now to get our free ebook on financing senior care, as well as a free referral for senior living communities in your area. Call 1-800-290-0352. That's 1-800-290-0352.
To be able to just get my son here and not think about how we will pay for it, it just takes so much weight off of my family. St. Jude allowed me to focus on being a mom to Bryce. And sometimes I'm just in awe of the impact St. Jude has, not only on this community, but the world.
So I kind of grew up all across the country. I come from 5 generations of military men. My dad is still active duty. My grandpa is retired Marines. I like going for runs with my dog. I love, taking her out to the dog beach over in Venice. There are so many things here to do on the Suncoast. My goal every day when I come into work at ABC7 is to tell your stories, give you that major local news and those details that you really care about. I'm Jacqueline Matter, and I'm here for you.
We continue our discussion on the Russia investigation and its impact on local politics, and joining us for more is State Representative Joe Gruters, former state senator and current County Commissioner Nancy Dietert, former state representative and current school board member Shirley Brown, and Zach Anderson, political editor for the Herald Tribune. Joe, I'm wondering if you are concerned about, we know how you feel about the Russia investigation, but the president has taken a hit in terms of what you see in the polls. Some polls have him down as low as 32%. And the New York Times just reported that the mounting backlash to President Trump that is threatening his party's control of Congress is no longer confined just to swing districts on either coast. Officials in both parties believe that Republican control in the House is now in grave jeopardy because of a group of districts that are historically Republican or have been trending that way are now slipping away.
Well, if I believed the polls, Donald Trump never would have been elected president, because every single poll in the country had him losing by double digits. I think what's going to happen is I think Donald Trump will lead to huge victories in 2018 for the Republicans, and even bigger victories after that because of the tax package that was passed. And I say that because of jobs and the economy. At the end of the day, people vote with their pocketbook. Stock markets are high, 401ks are way up, people are doing better, people are bring home, be better providers for their family, and as a result, they're going to go into that ballot box, and whatever they say to the people on the phone on the other end when they're being asked those polls, they're going to vote for Donald Trump and the Republicans because we're giving them their best opportunity to be successful in this economy.
Zach, if that's the case, why do we keep on hearing these political pundits talk about the looming blue wave?
Well, because obviously the president's approval rating is below 40%. He's been a very polarizing president. This tax bill that's moving forward is only around 30% support. So there are always the party in power gets some pushback, and the question is how much pushback are they going to get, and how fired up are Democrats to try and retake control. And we're seeing a fairly motivated Democratic base, even though in Alabama Roy Moore was obviously a flawed candidate with those allegations against him. There was still fairly high Democratic turnout, higher than you would expect in a special election. In Virginia, there was high Democratic turnout. So it looks like there's going to be some pushback in 2018. The question is how much.
Part of the problem that we are all listening to what we want to hear, and then half of our viewers, when they're not watching the trapezoid, they're watching Fox News, and the other half, when they're not watching the trapezoid, they're watching MSNBC.
Exactly, and I have suggested that they swap stations, that all the Fox watchers watch CNN, but frankly it doesn't work because you're just so programmed you can't really stand the other station, but you end up being in an echo chamber. And part of this is created by the internet. The internet should have broadened our horizons, and instead it narrowed it. because now instead of reading the newspaper where I have to read all the stories, whether I want to read them all or not, that's what's offered up for today, I can go on the internet and only read the stories that agree with my preconceived notion, and then I think everybody thinks the exact same way I do, which they do not.
We have to take a quick break, but when we return, our exclusive interview with former Congressman Patrick Murphy. Stay with us.
Outdoor living is one of the greatest perks about living in Florida. So whether this is your style, or this, or maybe this, contact Superior Pools. They've been building pools from Sarasota to Naples since 2001, and they would love to build yours.
Credit card debt can ruin your life. If you owe $10,000 and minimum payments are siphoning away your paycheck each month, you can get debt-free in less time than you think.
I've paid $800 a month for the past 3 years and haven't changed the balance on my credit card.
Get debt-free now has a program to reduce your debt, stop the harassing phone calls, avoid financial ruin, and settle for less than you owe.
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
You're pre-approved for our special hardship program if you owe $10,000 or more. Upon payment of your new lower balance, your debt will finally shrink until you are debt-free.
My family no longer has 30 years of payments ahead of us at 20% interest.
There's no fees until you see results. So call now, make one monthly program payment, and free up your cash. Resolve your debt.
Call 800-628-1251, 800-628-1251.
There's nothing like this trail in Alabama. It just goes from the northern part of the state to the southern part of the state. We see all kind of different terrains, great value, great fun. We've been coming for 18 years. We started off with a group of 8, grew to 12, and grew to 16. And we love it because where else can you get world-class golf courses with world-class accommodations? To be able to play these type of courses in this environment, and the difficulty keeps us coming back over and over and over again.
My name is Haley. I have Fragile X syndrome. I work with Chartwells at Einstein's and FAU. I like being up front and interacting with students. The students are very nice and very hungry. Having a job is a big ticket for independence.
Hi, this is Dan Marino. When your business recruits people with disabilities, everybody wins. To find out how, go to disabilitieswork.employflorida.com.
Outdoor living is one of the greatest perks about living in Florida. So whether this is your style, or this, or maybe this, contact Superior Pools. They've been building pools from Sarasota to Naples since 2001, and they would love to build yours.
Welcome back. Patrick Murphy, he burst into Florida's political scene by beating the bombastic Congressman Allen West, and then he set his eyes on the U.S. Senate, but lost to Marco Rubio last year. These days, he travels Florida along with another former Congressman, David Jolly, talking about something we don't see a lot of these days. It's called bipartisanship. Former Congressman Murphy joins us live at the Trapezoid. Congressman, welcome. Bipartisanship, you know, it's tossed around a lot, but these days, especially here on the Suncoast and all over really, it seems that the two parties are so far apart that no wonder nothing gets done in Washington. What are you and Congressman Jolly trying to do in terms of at least getting people to understand themselves a little bit better?
Well, you're right. Bipartisanship has become a dirty word in Washington, D.C. and politics really throughout this country. And Congressman Jolly and I basically came to the same conclusion, that there's so many important issues out there that have to be addressed. The debt, unemployment, health care, immigration, tax reform, you name it. But we are not going to see any progress on those issues and many others unless we fix these structural problems that are incentivizing polarization in our country right now. And we are going around the state of Florida basically telling stories, explaining to people just how bad it is. I always point to a few main reasons why we have this partisanship in our country. Number one, the gerrymandering. 90% of congressional districts are predetermined. That is shocking. The money in politics, millions and millions of dollars in congressional races. Members of Congress spending 50% of their time on the phone begging for money. The polarization of the media, and more folks going to websites or news stations that confirm their current beliefs, therefore becoming more confident and adamant and radical oftentimes in their beliefs.
Well, let me ask you this, because when you look at viewer comments from a show like this one, people default to some of their innermost feelings. They call any Democrat a socialist. They call the news media, if they don't like what they see, fake news. And they call the president or the congressman or the governor all sorts of names. How do you make that point that you're trying to make when people are just defaulting to the ugliest terminology to describe each other?
You know, I believe we've got to educate more people about what's going on in our country, because the #1 question I got while serving in the Congress for 4 years was, Patrick, why is Congress so broken? Why can't you all get something done? Why can't you, solve basic problems? And, unfortunately, there are far too many people on both sides of the aisle that are putting their party in front of their country.
Well, let's talk about that for a moment, because is it true, and you have often heard this, that the reason why things don't get done in Congress is because if you are the president or you are the party in power and you accomplish something, even if both sides agree with it, it is considered a win for you and a loss for me.
I'll tell you a quick story. One of the first bills that I put forward when I was first elected to Congress identified about $400 billion of wasteful, fraudulent spending, something Republicans and Democrats should all want to do. I was working with a Republican on that bill. Well, that Republican was told by the Speaker of the House that he can't work with me because I'm a Democrat in a vulnerable seat, and if we were to pass that bill, it might help me look good, might give me a good headline, Patrick Murphy saves money. So he was told that he would be dropped from his committee and blocked from raising money if he worked with me.
But wouldn't the same thing happen if the roles were reversed?
Oh, yeah, that's not meant to be partisan. The same exact thing happened to Congressman Jolly right after a shooting, and Congressman Jolly had a bill that he was putting forward around guns, and it happens on both sides of the aisle, and that's sickening.
We'll be right back with former Congressman Patrick Murphy after a quick break. Stay with us.
Attention type 2 diabetics. The FDA warns of an increased risk of amputation associated with certain diabetes medications. If you took the diabetes medications Invokana or Invokamet and then suffered an amputation or one of these other serious injuries, call the Rely On group right now. If you've suffered amputation or any of these injuries after taking your diabetes medication, call the Rely On group today. You may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. The FDA has recently warned about an increased risk of leg and foot amputations associated with the use of certain diabetic medications such as Invokana and Invokamet. If you or a loved one took the diabetes medications Invokana or Invokamet and then suffered an amputation, ketoacidosis, kidney failure, or even death, call the Rely On group now. We are here to help you get the justice you deserve. You may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-355-8205. That's 800-355-8205.
Need more space in your place? The More Space Place can help. With Murphy beds that disappear to reveal a home office, living room, or den. Custom closets with designated areas for your shoes, bags, wardrobe, and accessories. Custom-built entertainment centers, garage storage systems, and more. The More Space Place has 3 showrooms next to Sonny's on US 41 South in Sarasota, on Lakewood Ranch Boulevard just south of State Route 64 in Bradenton, and on Tamiami Trail next to Panera Bread in Port Charlotte. Put more space in your place at the More Space Place.
We answered the call of duty and left our homes to serve in far-off lands. Now we answer another call, this time at home, in our own communities, to respond in times of chaos, to use our strength, our skills, and our experiences to bring hope amid devastation and destruction. Together, as a team of brothers and sisters, we're continuing our mission to make this country a little stronger and a little better each day. We are Team Rubicon.
Enjoy some of the best Suncoast restaurants on me. Just go to mysuncoast.com/dining, sign up for the newsletter if you haven't already, and you can win a $50 gift card to a restaurant in our area. We'll pick a winner each week, so go on our website and sign up now.
Welcome back. We are talking to former Congressman Patrick Murphy. You talk about the areas in which both parties need to work together, but even if you're talking about a negotiation and a compromise in terms of taxes, when you talk about tax cuts and tax reforms, there are always winners and losers. So a lot of this, is it not philosophical differences between both parties?
There's no doubt at the highest level there are philosophical differences when it comes to tax policy. But this bill that is being rammed through the Congress right now is borderline evil. Right? That makes no sense. There are no economists. There is no nonpartisan, bipartisan studies showing this will actually help our economy in any meaningful way. In fact, they are indicating the opposite, that this will drive our debt up $1.5 trillion over the next 10 years, another trillion or more beyond that. This is a bill that is actually going to increase taxes on the majority of middle-class Americans by 2027.
Right, but you know, let me quote my friend John, who would say to you right now, you know what, I just want to get mine before you socialists take it away from me.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's been times in our country where greed has gotten to an ultimate breaking point. Right now, the upper class has done better than ever, right? There has been a very strong economic recovery, and I believe we're getting to that breaking point again, and I think that frustration, that anger is also representative of the election of a Donald Trump. I think you've seen it in other places around the world where people are frustrated, where people are talking about the elites and the haves and the have-nots. Our country is built on the middle class. We should not be judged on how we're treating the top 1%, but rather how we're treating the lower, you know, quintile of our country. And this is a tax bill that doesn't do that. This is a tax bill that is only going to benefit the top 1%. That's going to benefit the corporations. And I'll tell you, you know, again, as one of 8 CPAs in the Congress, I would have tax conversations with my colleagues. And the very first things that happens when I talk to them about depreciation or, you know, a deduction is the gloss right over the eyes. They don't understand it. And I think that is in large part why you're seeing this ram through and you're not seeing a lot of pushback by people that should otherwise know better.
Right, but and people are defaulting to whether it's an R or a D. Right. You know, I heard Carl Bernstein, the famous reporter from Watergate, say the other day that we are in the middle, whether we know it or not, in terms of a civil war in this country, a cold civil war, where we stop looking at people on the other side as even, you know, fellow Americans. Do you agree with that, number one? And number two, you know, how do we come back from that?
Yeah, it's you look at what's happening, what's said to politicians, what's being said to all sorts of leaders, not only around the world but in our country, and there's a total lack of trust in institutions. And you can't blame a lot of that frustration because so many people have been betrayed. I saw a recent poll where millennials said that 44% of millennials support socialism, while only 42% support capitalism. That's a really scary stat, in my opinion, that so many of the younger generation is now feeling so betrayed that they would actually support socialism. That's a pretty dangerous direction for our country, and it has in large part to do with, I think, the corruption and lack of progress they've seen by our leaders.
You're teaching part-time now at Georgetown in Washington. What are you getting from those millennials there in terms of where they're at and how they view our political system right now?
Well, they're confused because they do want to make a difference and they do want to get involved, but they haven't seen any sort of real leadership and any sort of real progress in our country. And don't forget millennials, and I was, I guess, the first millennial elected to the Congress. I was born in '83, so I'm right at that cusp there. Grew up in a generation of instant gratification, right? Everything's been on our fingertips with cell phones and computers and the internet, so we want to see things move. And understand that compromise isn't a dirty word, and that you're probably not going to get 100% of what you want. So why don't we sit down and talk about some of the common sense issues, make progress there, check the box, move on to the next issue. And we're not seeing any of that progress right now.
Finally, what's next for you? I mean, as many of our viewers will know, that you ran against Marco Rubio last year. It did not quite work out the way you wanted to. You are a young man. Do you want to seek elective office again, or is the environment too difficult, especially in the state of Florida, for someone like you to do so?
Well, I haven't ruled it out at some point in the future, but right now I'm keeping busy in the private sector, really enjoying what I'm doing at Georgetown. I have a little foundation called the Future Forum Foundation. It's all about connecting millennials to elected officials and trying to bridge that divide, and spending time with Congressman Jolly, going around the state trying to educate people, because I believe if more people understood that their vote really did matter, that they really can make a difference, that will ultimately help our electoral process. And whoever wins, Republican or Democrat, that's fine. Let's just get people more engaged in our democracy.
Lastly, your prediction, we're going to have a midterm next year because of redistricting and because of gerrymandering. A lot of these districts have always been locked down. Do you see a wave coming, and if so, even in Florida?
I'll just say, historically speaking, after one party takes the White House, 2 years later, it's usually the counter movement. That is the historical trend in our country. So with that being said, in some of the generic ballots I've seen with Democrats up anywhere between 14 to 15 points, I think there is going to be a bit of a wave. And I think President Trump had an opportunity that he squandered, quite frankly, to work across the aisle, to come in and really shake things up, to do something with infrastructure, to do things with our economy, find some Democrats that actually were quite willing to work with him. But after everything we've seen over the last year and his attempts to continue to pander to his base, I think it's going to get worse for him, and I think the Russia investigation, coupled with the lack of real legislative progress, will give Democrats a real opportunity to take back the House.
All right, Congressman, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
Patrick Murphy was a U.S. Congressman from Florida's 18th Congressional District. We'll be back in just a moment.
This is an important medical announcement. Bard IVC filters have been linked to punctured veins and problems with migration. Anyone who's received a Bard IVC filter must receive medical monitoring and may be entitled to substantial compensation. If you have the Bard Recovery G2 or G2 Express filter, you are in a class of patients who should be compensated for some expenses. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. This call is confidential. There's no cost and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to people who should have been warned about the risks of the Bard IVC filters. Call the IVC Filter Hotline if you or a loved one has received an IVC filter and experienced a vein puncture or required medical monitoring. You must call now.
Call 800-329-3089. 800-329-3089.
The holiday season is finally here, and what better way to spread some holiday cheer than running the most magical 5K of the year. Make your season a little brighter by joining us December 22nd at Lakewood Branch Main Street for the Jingle 5K, Kids Santa Dashes, or a 1-mile holiday walk. Get into the holiday spirit by running the race of the season, the Jingle 5K at Lakewood Ranch Main Street, Friday, December 22nd. Register today at thejingle5k.org.
WWSB ABC7 is an equal opportunity employer, and we're looking for qualified people to join our dynamic team. For a list of current openings and to apply online, visit www.mysuncoast.com/contact/employment. If you're a motivated team player and you want a rewarding career in a fun, fast-paced working environment, WWSB ABC7 could be the perfect fit for you. Check out our list of openings now.
Welcome back. From the ongoing investigation into Russian interference in the presidential election to the president's poll numbers to the high-flying stock market, what impact does the national climate and mood have on local politics? Shirley, Nancy said a few minutes ago that we tend to vote our wallets or our pocketbooks, and that right now the stock market is doing well. We feel like we're doing more, but or getting more ahead. But there's still a lot of people who are watching this tonight who are not participating in the stock market increases. And they are looking at these stories and the reporting on the tax package, and they are saying that we ourselves are not feeling this. And I'm wondering what impact do you think that is going to have in terms of how people vote, whether it's a local state house seat or next year in the midterms?
Yeah, I think that will have a big effect on how it affects them personally, because the stock market changes there's just a whole lot of people. I mean, if you're over 65 and you've got an IRA and all of that, yeah, that helps. But there's a lot of people in Sarasota, the janitors, the cooks, the waitresses, the guy who works at the gas station. They don't care what the stock market is doing. They care about what's happening to them, and their income is decreasing every year.
Joe, supporters of the tax plan talk about that the average family of four is going to get something like a $1,400 decrease in their taxes, which is great. But if you are struggling week in and week out to pay the bills, and we're not even talking about saving for college or retirement, that doesn't sound a lot. And then on the other hand, you hear about that most of the tax breaks going to the top 1%.
Well, we all know who pays most of the taxes. That's the upper class. And at the end of the day, I will tell you, the janitors, the bartenders, everybody who has a job. Now, I will tell you, not as a political guy, but as a guy who prepares taxes for a living. I'm a certified public accountant. I will tell you that every single person, well, 98% of the people who have jobs, who are contributors, they're going to see a decrease in their taxes, and it's going to be a lot more than $1,400. Most people see about a $2,100 break, and for working families, that's a lot of money for them to put in their pockets, to spend on their kids, on a TV, on a vacation that they may not have. And the difference is, if we were still following the Democrat lines, listen, Democrats want to take more out of your paycheck and spend it on more programs, where the Republicans, and that's why we're going to win at the end of the day. And unfortunately, this tax package is not going to be implemented until when people file their taxes in 2019 on the 2018 tax year. So we have a whole year delay.
The individuals, their tax breaks expire. The ones for the upper high and the businesses, they go on. Those are permanent. It tells me who you're looking after, and to me that's not, Joe Friday.
We have businesses that have been moving out of the United States for years because of the unfair tax advantage we put our corporations on. All we're doing with this tax package is putting the corporations, listen, I don't want the corporations to pay any less than they have to, but we have to do it on a global scale. We live in a global economy. We have to be competitive. We have to bring these rates down so people don't export the funds and keep them out. We have to have the reinvestment here in America, and that's what these things will do. This tax package long term will reinvigorate our economy. It will put people back to work.
How do you know
people
that?
are going. I know it because as a guy who deals with taxes nonstop, when I talk to small businesses on a daily basis, people say, well, I say, what are you going to do? They say, I'm going to invest it. We're going to go out and do more. We're going to give more to our employees. We're going to build more
the Treasury
equipment.
Secretary Mnuchin had this roundtable with corporate CEOs, and he asked them, how many of you are going to hire more employees at increased wages if you get this tax plan? Raise your hand, and nobody did.
Fake news. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. If you talk to the average everyday business person out there, they will tell you they're going to take that money that they have. A lot of people are restricted. They don't know. There's a lot of the problems that we have in our country is the uncertainty with the markets.
I'm sorry, you didn't see that clip from
people are going to be able to take. People are going to take this money and they're going to reinvest it in jobs here in America.
I saw that clip, and I was surprised that they didn't raise their hand. But that's why you have to make the corporate taxes longer term, because it's like turning a cruise ship. All the money's flowing to Europe. Rich people will go wherever it's best for them, wherever the tax rate is best. We're trying to lure that money back onshore, bring it back home, so you have to promise that we're not going to change our mind in a year. There's ways of interpreting things. When they said, what are you going to do with the money, big CEOs, they said they're going to invest it. They're going to buy back stock. But, it would be nice. That's year one. What are you going to do year two? Maybe you're going to pay your employees better. Maybe you're going to hire more people. Maybe you're going to expand your plant. So
you hope.
I would
think didn't work under Reagan, and I don't think it's going to work now.
Hold on just 1 second. We'll be back with more on the national impact on local news, local politics in a moment. Stay with us.
This is an important announcement. If you're between 50 and 85 and worried about your loved ones, you can still get affordable life insurance for peace of mind.
My life insurance coverage is guaranteed, and I was not required to get a medical exam.
I had high blood pressure and diabetes, and I got my coverage with one telephone call. No exam necessary.
I'm a smoker, and I wanted to take care of my family. I called to get my life insurance and my affairs in order. I wanted to do the right thing.
Call Final Expense No Exam Insurance. Your rates are guaranteed and will never increase.
I called and learned that this insurance cannot be canceled even if you get sick or gain weight.
And there are no restrictions on how my beneficiaries use the money when I'm gone.
Approval was easy and the price was right. I wanted to do this for my children.
Call 800-738-9812. 800-738-9812.
When my youngest
Addie was 2.5. She was diagnosed with leukemia. When we first heard that diagnosis, you feel extremely alone. Walking in that Light the Night light with 6,000 people carrying lights, white for survivors, red for supporters, gold in memory of those who have passed. It's the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's hope that every year there are fewer gold lanterns. Your lantern will make a difference.
Start a team, join a team.
Help us light the night.
Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
Attention type 2 diabetics. The FDA warns of an increased risk of amputation associated with certain diabetes medications. If you took the diabetes medications Invokana or Invokamet and then suffered an amputation or one of these other serious injuries, call the Rely On group right now. If you've suffered amputation or any of these other injuries after taking your diabetes medication, call the Rely On group today. You may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Call 800-604-1698. That's 800-604-1698.
We want to thank our guests for being here tonight. State Representative Joe Gruters, former state senator and current County Commissioner Nancy Dietert, former state representative and current school board member Shirley Brown, and Zach Anderson, political editor for the Herald Tribune, and former Congressman Patrick Murphy. And that is all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn, and thank you from all of us who work at the Trapezoid. Have a great holiday.